Get your hippity hoppity My Son Deserves Your Property and other merch today. Defend your property from entitled parents. It's America's favorite game show. Whose stuff is that? The game is simple. We show you someone else's property, and our contestant simply has to say whose stuff that is. Let's play. Thomas, come on down. Thomas is a 34-year-old father of 2. Now Thomas, here is a laptop that belongs to Sarah. To win, all you have to do is say the correct answer to this question. Whose stuff is that? It's mine? Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas. No, it's Sarah's. It's Sarah's stuff, Thomas. Come on, Thomas! Our fan-submitted story. At a school basketball game, an older sister is treating her younger sister and her friends. But this entitled kid believes he deserves special attention too. Things only get worse when the mother tries to pressure the woman into giving him what he demands. Everyone has to wait in line sometimes. But of course, the entitled parents hate having to wait like everyone else. You'll enjoy hearing how an employee puts her in her place. A kid brings his pet to school for a presentation, but an entitled girl is annoyed with him. Enter the entitled mother. What crazy thing does she accuse him and his pet of doing? You'll only find out by watching this episode of VoiceyHere's Entitled Parents. This fan-submitted story was called Buy My Kid Some Food Too While You're At It. I am basically a second mum for my younger siblings. I take them to school and go to PTAs, stuff like that. They have a basketball game one day, and I went to go sit with the kids. 10-year-old brother decided to sit with his class, so I sat with 5-year-old sister. I'm pretty friendly with all the staff at the school, so her monitor made small talk with me every now and then. By the way, I'm like 18 at the time. So the game starts, and I hear the monitor say she's taking the kids to go buy food at the concession stand. I get up and help, because why not? We go through the line and get food. I buy my sister a lot of stuff because I like to spoil her. We all go sit back down, and some kids don't get anything because their parents didn't give them any money for it. My sister is trying to share food with her friends, but I stop her, have her give her friends $1 each. So the monitor takes that small group to the stand. Cue entitled kid. He saw me giving money to the other kids and assumed I was just handing it out. He runs up to me and holds out his hand, and I kinda stare at him. The following happens. What?
Give me $1.
No.
But I'm hungry.
I put 2 and 2 together. Oh, no, that was the last of my money. I'm a big fat liar.
Nuh-uh, you have more.
Okay, but that was for my sister's friends. The kid looks at her and looks back at me.
I'm a friend too.
I lean over to my sister. Do you know him? She shakes her head, but she's a bit more focused on the Coca-Cola I snuck in for her. Sorry, kid. The kid goes off crying, and I go back to watching the game. Peace lasts for about 2 minutes, and I see a woman storming up these small bleachers at me. It's his mum. She stops in front of me and puts her hands on her hips. What?
You didn't give EK $1 too?
Because he's not my kid? Entitled mum growls and leans down in my face, so close that I can smell her cigarette breath.
Listen here, you
She stops as the monitor walks up with the other kids, shoots me a glare and walks back down to her seat. I'm like, cool, my savior. Halfway through the game, my sis is hungry again. I get up and ask if any other kid has money that they can come with me. Kids get up and scatter in a line behind me, and I go collect their dollars. As we walk around the court to avoid getting hit by the ball, EK runs to the line. We go through the line. Each kid knows how many items they're supposed to get. So I'm at the cash register when the lady behind it tells me the total is $3 over how many dollars there are kids. I put down what I have and go around and count items. I catch entitled kid with 2 bags of candy and a half-eaten hot dog. I don't even say anything. I just snatch the candy away and bring it back, so I only have to pay an extra $1 for the kid. He starts crying again and throws down his half-eaten hot dog and runs back to his mother. She marches up to me as the kids and I are walking on the side of the court and gets right in my face.
Why did you take my son's candy?
Because he didn't pay for it.
You were paying for everyone, why not him?
I paid for my sisters. Everyone else had their own money. Your kid still got a hot dog off me anyway, because he started eating it in line.
I didn't see any hot dog. Why are you lying?
I threw it on the ground.
You're lying. Go buy him a hot dog.
I stare at this woman in awe. I then proceed to go around her and lead the kids back to their seats. My sister is repeatedly hugging me because she thinks I'm angry. This woman comes up to me and tried to pick up my little purse that's slung around my body.
Fine, just give me the dollar so I can go get it for him.
I pull my purse under my jacket. How about you pay for your own kid's stuff?
Why, if you're paying for it?
I finally stand up, a little taller because I'm one step above her on the bleachers. I will tell that you're trying to touch me in a nasty way if you don't back the F off. My little sister hit me in the leg for cussing because I told her that swears is bad. Entitled Mum backs off and goes back to her seat. I don't look at her because I'm focusing on the game. During the game, I feel a hug on my purse, and it's Entitled Kid trying to get on it. I do this really deep growl that I use to scare my sister at him, and he freezes, then wets his pants. He goes back to his mother once more. Later, after the game, Entitled Mum was complaining to the monitor of how I was a bad assistant, and that I hit her son or something, because he peed on himself. I just walk myself in the conversation, while monitor is saying I'm not an assistant, and that I'm here to watch over my own kid, and I was taking kids to the stand out of my own will. Once I'm there, Entitled Mum opens her mouth, but I stop her and tell her that if any money is missing out of my purse due to her kid, I'm telling the principal to call the cops. She walks off. I still tell the principal this whole story, and she is no longer allowed to participate in basketball games. There's only been one other basketball game since then, and Entitled Kid stayed on the other side of the class, sitting during the whole game. I remember at school having swimming carnivals, and it was the best because most of the day you're just hanging out with your friends, and one of the best things you could do was spend what little cash you had at the cafeteria getting food and candy. So I get why this kid would try and do anything he could to get some food from someone else. That doesn't excuse what he did by any means. It just sucks that his mum was so stingy, because I remember at sporting events at school, it wasn't so much about the sporting event, but the time you spent with everyone else around it. I don't really know what school's policies are these days, but we basically bought pure sugar from the cafeteria. I feel like they'd have policies against that now, and that would really suck. If you're someone who's still in school, let me know what their policies are at your school. This story was called I Need to Go Ahead of You in Line. I Have a Child. As the title suggests, I was standing in line at the grocery store waiting. I was holding a box of Pop-Tarts and 3 tins of cat food. Priorities. I heard someone push their cart up behind me in line, and I moved up a couple more steps to give them room. The person behind me cleared their throat. I remained facing forward because, well, why would I have turned around? The person behind me cleared their throat again, a far more fake and ahem sort of throat clear. So I turn my head to look at them and smile, not quite sure what's going on. I need to get ahead of you in line? I'm sorry? I need to get ahead of you in line. I then looked at her cart, which is stacked, and then at the few things I'm holding in my hands, and hold them up a bit before replying, I just have a few things, it'll be super quick. I have a child with me? If you haven't noticed, I need to go first. I look again and there is a baby carrier in the front of the cart and the child is fast asleep. Now if someone had come up behind me in line with a screaming child, they were trying their best to comfort to no avail, I would have stepped out of line and let them go ahead of me without them having asked, no question. But to have some lady push up behind me with a sleeping child, a crammed cart of food, and demand to go ahead of me because they had a child? I'm not as keen. So I shake my head. No, I'm sorry. I've been waiting here for a bit and I'd like to get out. I only have a few things and will be quick. I turn back around then and face towards the cashier, and the lady behind me starts huffing and scoffing. She's just totally disgusted with me for being so selfish. She shifts her cart around, making pained noises, like it was just too much for her to bear with, and I start to feel uncomfortable, and like this wasn't worth the argument, and maybe I should just let her go ahead of me. Then the cashier catches my eye and gives me this kind of evil smile, and reaches over and hands me her "please use the next cash" sign, and asks me to put it behind my things when I set them down. She then calls over me to disgruntled mum and tells her she'll have to get into a different line because she was closing her till after me. Entitled mum just loses it with curse words, wheels the cart around hard enough that a bunch of stuff falls off the top. Her child, predictably, wakes up and starts crying while she's picking up her things. I'm guessing I looked rather bewildered because the cashier laughed at me and said quietly, "I'm a mum with 3 kids. I hate it when other mums use their kids like they're some sort of disability that entitles them to special treatment." I leave rather happy that not every parent in the world is entitled. Probably one of those things that I should clarify, even though I think I really shouldn't have to. I think most of you get this, that just because you're a parent doesn't make you entitled. It just so happens that a lot of people who are entitled use their kids as the excuse for their entitlement. Hence why it's such a big trend. There are a lot of people entitled out there, and they don't want to come to terms with the fact that they are selfish. So they'll use their kids, guilt trip others, and make you feel as if like you've done something wrong. This story was called "My son is a professional gamer, so he must get this for free." So I'll tell a little of backstory. In Finland, we have this thing called TET, which is like a work experience thingy. In the 8th grade, it lasts a week. I was 14, and I had taken a job in a tech store. It was good. I am somewhat nerdy, and I know about technology and computers. This all translated from the Finnish conversation, or the argument. I am a high school student, and my English might have mistakes. We have the entitled kid, the entitled mum, me, and the store manager. So I've been working there for a few days, and it was Thursday, around 2 p.m. I had about an hour left of work time since the TET rules said that the work time was 6 hours. I was behind a cash register desk, filling the cabinets with some phones that had arrived in a shipment that day. Then the entitled mum and entitled kid entered in. The store manager was in the storage. The mum was in her 40s and the kid was about 11 to 13. "Hello, welcome to the tech store. How can I help you?"
Good afternoon, my son's looking for a keyboard.
I pointed to my left where the gaming products were, and there were mostly Razer products available. The others were sold out, and the store didn't have much of the accessories. On that shelf, feel free to look around.
Thanks.
The entitled mum and the entitled kid walked over, and I kept on filling the cabinet. I heard some discussion from behind me, but I didn't bother to listen to it. Sometime later, I was done, and looked over to them. They were looking at the prices and thinking about it. Need some help?
Yeah, I don't understand the difference between this Black Widow Ultimate Chroma and this Ornata Chroma. They look alike. Can you please tell me the difference? Mom, the Black Widow's better. It's mechanical like I told you.
The kid had this high-pitched voice, a really irritating one. Your son is right. The difference is that the Black Widow is mechanical and has faster response times than the Ornata, which is memcanical. Google it if you don't understand. The Black Widow was also more expensive, but that is logical since it was mechanical. The entitled mum looked over to the entitled kid who was smiling.
We'll take this one then.
The entitled mum walked to the register and I scanned the barcode. The keyboard was €129. Alright ma'am, that'll be €129.
What? €130 for a piece of plastic? What the heck?
Calm down ma'am, it's the normal price.
My son plays competitively. Well, he needs this.
Really? What does he play? The entitled kid looked at me.
I play CSGO in a professional team.
I just look at him, holding my laughter. This underage kid had just told me that he plays a K-16 game professionally. It was hilarious. K-16 is the equivalent of the ESRB rating teen. I reply in a sarcastic tone. Oh really? What is the team name? The kid smiled more. His smile kinda looked like a troll face.
Our team is called the Killer Bee Sports.
That's the translated name. I just bursted into laughter. This kid has just told me of a group that I didn't know of. Okay, hold on, I'll check. I looked up the team on my phone. I found a Steam group and looked at it. I was laughing so hard because the kid was so serious about being professionals. I'm sorry kid, but this gaming group is far from being professional. Even if you were professionals, I couldn't give you this keyboard for free, since you aren't sponsored by us. The store was part of a chain. The mum was looking at me, being very angry.
Why are you laughing at us? He is a professional gamer. He is good. I have watched him play. We need to get this for free. You are so rude, young man.
I'm sorry, but he's not a professional. I see no awards or anything to reference some sort of esport activity.
I used to play at the Tweety Max Juniors.
That doesn't exist, and that isn't even Finnish. I just laughed even harder. I couldn't help it. This kid was so bad at lying. Are you kidding me? Look at you. You are not old enough to play CSGO. Not professionally.
He's underage? That's your best argument? How old are you?
I'm 14.
You're 14 and you call my son underage. Shame on you.
It's my TET week, so it's part-time. The entitled mum was looking at her son with a weird smile, and the kid smiled back. She turned to me.
We'll make a compromise. I will pay the full price.
I was getting suspicious from the tone of her voice, which had turned to a kind and a soft voice. And
I get those headphones from the shelf.
She points to a pair of Razer Kraken 7.1S, about €110. I looked at her with an annoyed gaze and stayed quiet for a moment. Are you kidding me? You're asking for a keyboard and a headset for the price of one? I explained to her that we have some bundles, sometimes, but she can't just make one out of thin air. She just looks at me annoyed.
Let me talk to your manager.
Okay. I point to some security cameras. Don't think of trying to leave. You have cameras watching you. I walked to the warehouse and called for the store manager, Pekka, to come and help me with the customer. Surprisingly, the entitled mum and entitled kid hadn't left. Hello, I'm Pekka. What seems to be the problem?
Your part-time employee is rude to me and makes fun of my son.
That's not entirely true. She claimed her son is a professional gamer in a team, and they're trying to get equipment for free. Ma'am, is that true?
No, he's lying.
The manager was just there, looking at the angry mum, her kid, and me. I'll check the camera recordings. He said that and went to the security room. Sometime later, he came out. Ma'am, I have to ask you to pay for that keyboard and leave.
What the heck? He's rude to me and my son. We need these for free. My son is traumatized after your behavior.
The other option for you is to not pay and leave without the keyboard. Entitled mom just looked at us and hesitantly paid for the keyboard and was about to leave until she yelled from the door.
You just lost a customer for life. I'm not coming back here ever again.
Despite her actions, my work experience went well. I got good points for the work. Sometimes when I go to the store, I talk with Pekka about the pro player kid, and we laugh. Surprisingly, the entitled mum or the kid never visited the store anymore. I can imagine that a lot of kids think that they're better at the game than they really are. But to actually try and claim that you're a professional gamer? Yeah, not many people are gonna believe that one. Professional gaming is really only a relatively new profession. I don't know, maybe she could trick other like soccer mums or something into thinking that her kid was a professional gamer, but not in a store that sells gaming equipment. Now let's say theoretically he was a professional gamer. Wouldn't you want to teach your kid good work ethic and how to value money? By saying, look, you've worked hard and now you've earned some money. You should buy your own equipment to help you improve your skill. Yeah, but that would expect this entitled parent to be a reasonable parent. This story was called Entitled Mom Tries to Get Me Expelled for Bringing My Snake to School with Permission. So I have a corn snake. She's tiny, like half an inch diameter on the biggest part of her body. Her name is Cornflake. I also go to a charter school that does project-based learning. So if our teacher gives us a project and we have another idea that accomplishes the same criteria, we can usually do it if we ask. So in my science class, we did a unit on evolution, and I wanted to make a presentation on snakes and how they evolved into what they are today. I also asked to bring my snake in for the presentation and got permission after my teacher and I cleared it with the class to make sure no one was like deathly afraid of snakes. So the day of the presentation comes and I'm up there talking, and this girl, entitled girl, ignores the sign on the door that says presentations in progress, do not disturb, and walks in and starts talking loudly to the teacher. The teacher explained that she has to leave, and the girl scoffed and rolled her eyes, but went to leave. She sees me and the snake.
I don't like snakes.
Okay.
You're not allowed to have that here, it's gross.
I got permission, e.g. go to class.
But it's a snake. It should be dead, not in school.
I was backing away because I literally had someone try to kill Cornflake before. Well then go away and you won't have to look at her.
Hey, teacher, he's being rude.
Go to class, EG. EG scowled and stormed out of the room. Everybody just sort of rolled their eyes, and I finished my presentation. I figured that would be the end of it, but when I went to get Cornflake at the end of the day, I had to leave her in the office during all of my other classes. The girl and her mum, entitled mum, were already in there. The girl was literally sobbing, saying I traumatized her and threatened to have my snake eat her and chased her with it. And entitled mum was screaming about how I would be expelled for bringing a snake anywhere near the school. The office ladies were trying to calm the two down and asked if what the girl was saying was true. Obviously I said no, so they called the teacher to confirm what happened. Teacher explained. Girl said he was lying. I was allowed to go home. Later, my advisor, he tells us things he's not supposed to, he's really cool, told me that the mum had tried to get me expelled and the teacher fired, and she was planning to sue us for emotional damages. But I never heard anything from my parents about that, so I guess she didn't go through with it. I'm sure you've had this happen to you too, where a situation will happen and somebody takes it way out of proportion, and then the story that they tell other people is literally lies about you and what actually happened. You obviously feel like it's not a big deal that you have to tell everyone about it, but they feel like if they can tell other people first, they get to control the narrative. That's exactly what the entitled girl and entitled mum are trying to do. Obviously for the student and for the teacher, it was no big deal, they wouldn't have to report to the office. But the entitled girl and mum think if we can report it first, we get to set the tone of the conversation. Fortunately, they believed the teacher, otherwise the teacher could have got fired and student expelled, simply because the entitled girl didn't get her way. If you'd like your story to be narrated by me, don't forget to visit the subreddit r/VoiceyHere, link below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.
Go buy him a hot dog.